Have you ever done a diet and put the weight back on? Well, this video explains why. This is about why the diet after the diet where you lost weight is even more important. So what I mean by the diet after the diet is simply what are you going to do after you've lost the weight. Some people even argue it's more important than the weight loss diet itself, because it's the time where people mostly put the weight back on. So after the diet, most people think they're finished, which is kind of true, but let me explain why that's wrong. Let's say you've dieted for 12 weeks, you've lost a decent amount of weight, which you wanted, but then the diet stops. What do you then do? What likely happens is you, who doesn't know what they're doing now after they've finished the diet, will likely have a blowout the day after you've finished, because you've reached the finish line and starved and restricted yourself for a number of weeks. It's the same kind of blowout people have after a marathon or some sort of mental challenge like hitting a deadline, and then they head out for a fuckload of booze and a Jaeger bomb to celebrate. Because losing 5 kilos is exactly the same as running a marathon, isn't it? So the worst case scenario here is after a few days you'll write off all your progress and begin this I'll sort myself out on Monday mentality and start yo-yo dieting and whatnot. And I think people nowadays seriously underestimate the amount of calories you can put away, especially when you get these wee dinky small brownies for like 300 calories. There's been a conclusion of studies showing that around 95% of people who lose weight tend to put it back on and more on top of it. I don't think that's necessarily accurate in terms of the amount. 95% does seem quite a lot. I would assume it would genuinely be lower, maybe around like the 60% I guess. So it is still a big number. I only say that because there will be people out there who genuinely know how to keep weight off because they've likely been taught how to. Also, some weight gain is normal immediately after a diet when you think about water and glycogen levels and food weight in your digestive tract and poop in your body. All these things return to normal. This could be anywhere between 1 to 3 kilos. But there will be a decent amount of pursuers of weight loss that likely don't know how to keep it off after because they followed a diet club that doesn't explain how to keep it off. Or they had a coach who hasn't taught them, or maybe left a coach immediately after losing the weight thinking, I don't need him anymore, I know what I'm doing. The biggest issue I see with not keeping the weight off is people think health in general is an on-off switch. It's something you pick up and you drop when you want. You simply choose when to address it. And little do they know the hole they can dig themselves in when they don't address it. A big, massive ass print of a hole. When in reality, it should be something you monitor over months, even years, and give a certain amount of attention at various points through the year. So if you're feeling chubby and overweight, you dial it in. If you want to build muscle, then you focus on the gym and eating well. If you want to maintain your weight, just eat well and go to the gym. If you learn how to lose weight correctly, none of the above 3 would be difficult to carry out at any time of the year. And the on-off switch mentality is fucking bonkers. So what you're telling me is you've got to burst your balls for 12 weeks to get the best shape of your life. Then the day you finish, you just let it all go because you've been slightly inconvenienced over the previous 12 weeks. This is like cleaning your bathroom and then pissing all over the walls. It's a bit of a waste of time, isn't it? And now you're saying, wait, James, are you telling me I have to watch my health for the rest of my life? Yes, you do, you lazy fucker, because why wouldn't you? Your family has enough motivation to do this without any questions asked, or it should be. I have an amazing example of this on-off switch mentality. A friend of mine did Weight Watchers. They lost a decent amount of weight. The moment they finished, they cracked open a share bag of peanuts and consumed the whole lot. Do you know how many calories are in a share bag of peanuts? Around 2,500 calories gone in minutes. Or, what you and I know is a metric fuck ton of calories. What you've just done there is chat to a girl all night, took her home, and then you've just shat all over the bed sheets before getting into them. A complete waste of time. And I'll hazard a guess why that's happened. Number 1, they've been too restrictive. With Weight Watchers that can happen, as there's no real guidance as to what food energy balance really is. 2, they haven't been taught what to do after the diet, which is also, again, blatantly obvious at Weight Watchers. And 3, they treat their health as an on-off switch. The thing is as well, many people in groups don't want to tell you what to do after the diet. And do you know why that is? Because you'll stop buying their services and then they'll stop collecting your Bunsen's, your Benjamins. Weight Watchers must rub their hands at all the people that put back on weight, because those same people will think, I lost weight at Weight Watchers, I'll just go back there because it worked. But again, they haven't kept it off. Fortunately for you and me, I'm not all about that. I'm only here to tell the truth, people. Just like aliens and UAPs are real. Some genuine coaches don't want to see you after you've been with them for 6 months because you've learnt everything and know what to do. There is a caveat to this though. You might just love working with that person and want the accountability. If some people don't have that accountability, they just become a slob. But in a perfect and ideal world, after you've done your diet, you'd be guided through your phase coming off, things to expect and things that will likely happen. So maybe what a 12-week diet should look like, it should maybe be a 16-week diet. 12 weeks of actual weight loss and then 4 weeks of maintenance and acclimatising to your new calories and weight. But we don't live in a perfect world though. We live in a world of exploit and money. Many people out there don't realise that when you lose the weight, your calorie consumption targets slightly change. So, for example, an 80 kilo dad with a height of 180 centimetres maintains at around 2,700, but a 70 kilo dad at the same weight maintains at around 2,500 calories. It's a very vague example at face value, and it really doesn't mean much, but those small amount of calories add up and can make a difference. Also, do you know where arguably this diet after the diet is even more important? So let's say you have an end goal in sight, you have a wedding or a holiday, which is quite common and is a great idea because it provides motivation to get your arse at the gym and watch what you eat. You diet right up to the day before you leave and you go away on the first night and you smash the buffet 3 times. Then also you do the beers and the cocktails and the wine because it's all inclusive. And then next day you think, fuck this, and do the same thing for the whole week. That makes your last 12 weeks look absolutely pointless. And then you go back to normal after you get home because you've no other goal to aim for, which again is fucking mental. It has to be said though, even the approach of constantly watching what you eat has its issues. I worked with a guy called Dean and he done incredibly well for 11 months, but the first day of December came and he says, I'm out 2 nights every weekend from here until Christmas and I'm going to drink and eat a fuckload of everything in sight and get back on this in January, which is fucking mental. All for some extra food and booze. Anyway, moving on. So what happens when you lose weight to cause these issues? I hate saying things like your body and all this kind of stuff because it sounds like I pick daisies and wear them as a crown. But essentially you and your body have been starving, in a very loose sense, for these 12 weeks or so. That's 12 weeks of taking in less energy than you need and then lowering overall body weight, ideally fat mass. Mind-blowing stuff, right? Scene change. If you think of this rope attachment like a pendulum or like a big swinging donkey dick, when there's an action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. The pendulum has swung this way, so the weight loss is done and physically you've lost all the weight. But mentally, the minute you finish this, your body's thinking, what the fuck has happened here the last 12 weeks? I'm not going through that again. This has been terrible. Give me all the food because I need it. And it's got to swing this way. And what happens on this side is because it's thinking along the lines of, I don't know when my next meal is coming. I want to survive. I don't want to lose all that weight again. Basically, all this irrational thinking and temptation comes into play. So the irrational thinking is the pendulum swinging back in full force. So starving never happens again. And this is the part that people don't understand and don't have under control. In your head, you might think, I've got this under control. I'm getting food in an hour. But then you take an extra portion here and there when it comes to your food, or you have an extra chocolate bar without even really noticing, and then bang, you're back where you started and potentially worse. Quick one as well, this ravenous state is why most people who have tried and failed diets multiple times one after the other shouldn't do another one again. They should maintain their weight, have a rest and build healthy habits to bring themselves back to a state of feeling normal and then maybe try it again. A coach might be a better idea to oversee these diets as well. My details are below. If you imagine you have literally been starving, okay, and you're presented a buffet, you're not going to go up there and go, I'm just going to have this grape and this little bit of apple, are you? You're going to go fucking mental. You're also going to go for the best smelling and the best looking stuff. Food simply tastes and smells better after a diet, which tempts you even more. This is when rational thinking goes out the fucking window. And in today's world, you're maybe not even presented with a buffet every day, but they are easily accessible. What you're presented though every day on the high street is the most delicious food that's ever been made, and they are all cheap and convenient. So if you mix that and being hungry in the most obesogenic environment ever in this world, you have got your work cut out. As I've said before, weight loss today is arguably the hardest it's ever been, but it's not impossible. But it's also arguably the easiest time to lose weight with all the help at your disposal. You're just a lazy fucker, my friend, and won't face the truth and take responsibility for your fat ass and making excuses to make yourself feel better. What most people do after a diet is go back to their old habits. If you go from eating well for 12 weeks, for example, and then suddenly think you can go back to the takeaways and eating out and boozing and assume there's not going to be any repercussions, you are a fucking idiot. This is why this on-off switch mentality won't get you far when pursuing better health. It can't be switched off. It needs to be managed and maintained constantly. Think of it like a dimmer switch. Even idling every day, like exercising and eating well, just doing that every day is better than nothing. The quicker you learn this, the better I'll feel you don't need to spend your money to get the best version of yourself on things like Weight Watchers. You know what really fucks me off about people who don't sort their health out? They could spend 6 months to a year with a decent coach and learn all things about weight loss, weight gain, what to expect, what might happen, here's what to do in certain circumstances, here's how to enjoy sociable occasions. It could take a literal year, yet people will happily spend a large portion of their life trying to cut corners, look for hacks and tips, and end up worse than they started. A diet now isn't really something you can pick up and drop when you fancy it, if you want to have any sort of decent shape. You have to think long term. You have to think of 6 months or year blocks. Most people have goals of finishing all you can eat challenges and who can weigh the heaviest. It's fucking mental. So here's 2 scenarios for you. Let's say you lost 8 kilos in 12 weeks, but in 6 months' time you put that 8 kilos on and another 4 on top of that. So there's 12 kilos back on. Or what you could do is lose 5 kilos in 16 weeks, but you keep it off after 6 months. Which one is more successful? Because if you lose weight and then you instantly put it back on, I would argue that's not been successful. Ignoring the diet after the diet means you're going to be fat forever, my friend. I'm only joking. It means you'll likely need to give it similar attention to your diet previously until you have habits and food patterns in place to maintain your weight. You have to basically acclimatise to this new weight and new situation that you're in. And also this new situation, it could take weeks or months to get used to. The single best piece of advice I can give you is to stop thinking your health is an on-off switch and start thinking of it in larger scales, like blocks and months and years, and map them out. What you could actually do yourself is bring your calories up to maintenance and sit there until you feel comfortable and have a grasp on these hunger and temptation issues. We do this so you can move from this ravenous state down here up to this normal state that you were before you started the diet, in an ideally somewhat controlled manner, and basically tell your brain, this is alright here by the way. And then your brain replies, alright, just don't pull any of that shit again. You don't even need to do things here like track calories. You just have to create square meals that add up to your maintenance calories and then go from there. Just make it easy for yourself. Some people out there might advocate that you go straight into a surplus and start gaining weight. That really depends on how much you've lost and what weight you are. But being in this vulnerable state, you might just be inviting a situation where you eat a fuckload of food and gain a ton of weight. Everyone is different though. You have two options when you lose weight. You can do it slow and steady, where these feelings and urges might not be as much of an issue, or you can get it off as quickly as possible by severely starving yourself with an extreme diet approach, which has its benefits of some, like an in and out kind of deal. Lol. Going slower may lower the intensity of these feelings post-diet, where losing weight quickly may exacerbate some of these feelings. It will really be up to you to decide what the best approach is. But just being aware of this is a massive step in the right direction, so you just manage them as and when they may appear. You would still track and maintain your healthy habits you did during the original diet. Arguably your food choices shouldn't be that much different, maybe just slightly bigger portions. This is because the difference between you losing weight and maintaining weight isn't that much different. Maybe 200, 300 calories? Or to put that in a bit more of a realistic way, that could just be a chocolate bar or a packet of crisps. You obviously don't have to track as meticulously as you did, but some easy low-hanging fruits like steps, make sure you're still exercising, weigh yourself maybe a few times a week, maybe track a few meals rather than all of them. That could be all you need. All really effortless ways of monitoring, especially when you likely spend hours on your phone doing nothing meaningful. Also build new habits at your new weight. With your weight change, that means new calories to maintain your weight. How much you've lost will depend on how different these calories are. To address the big occasion stuff, like if you're going away for a holiday or a wedding, if you have one that you're getting in shape for, stop 1 to 4 weeks before that date, so you don't go wherever you're going in a ravenous state and eat everything in sight. Because in those 1 to 4 weeks, you would eat foods that are going to help you stay full and start building new habits at your new weight. So again, that means you don't go on your holiday one day after you've finished the diet, absolutely starving, and then you eat everything in sight. Losing weight will never be black and white. There will always be an infinite amount of shades of grey in there. So you'll have to figure out a lot of this by yourself and find out what works for you. Just be aware of all the tools and guides at your disposal and then make your decision. Now you might be thinking, bravo James, well done. Another fantastic bit of information. Thank you very much, viewer. And I hope you enjoyed it. You might be wondering, where do I go next? Well, I think the next thing you need to look at is your protein intake, because most people don't eat enough and it helps you stay fuller during this after diet period. So if you click here and you'll see a video on simple ways to eat more protein. Thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next video.